All right, welcome. My name is Dean Harris. I'm the Vice President of Sales at Crestcore Realty. Welcome to the Investor's Guide to Memphis Real Estate podcast, the podcast where we give out-of-state investors the boots on the ground knowledge they need to be informed, savvy, and win in the Memphis real estate game. As always, I'm joined by Douglas Skipworth. How are you?
Hey, great.
Good. Douglas is our founder, principal broker of Crestcore Realty, Crestcore Property Management, and you're our largest client here too. So we love to say you eat the cooking, so to speak. So that's great. I am a licensed agent in Tennessee, Mississippi. I can help you buy and sell anything in any area of those two states. So give me a call, or better yet, email. It'll be a little bit easier to schedule an appointment, dean@crestcore.com, and I'll be happy to set up a time to talk with you and get you going with our team. Beautiful fall day. First day that I've come in this year where I felt like, hey man, fall's here. It's coming. Now, tomorrow will be 95, but but I've felt a little fall spirit this morning, so I was excited about that. Football's back and we're getting going. Last week last podcast was our zip code breakdown. Extremely popular. Alec did a great job, our producer, of the graphics and the descriptions of where it went, of how we went about it, and great tool for investors to use. I
send it out all the time.
I sent it out probably a dozen times last week because of different people that were waiting on it.
I sent it out this morning. Somebody said, hey, how do I learn a little about, so what are the areas I should invest in? I was like, here, listen to this.
This is it. Okay, so great.
A great chance to figure it out
yourself as you're going.
What works for you.
That's right. If you guys have any questions on that, shoot me an email. I'll get it back to you. You can go to YouTube. Our YouTube channel is the best route. You can just go get it there. If you have Facebook, you can get on there and find it. But YouTube is the best place to find it and watch it. Spotify and everywhere else has the recording. So the audio. Today, we're going to piggyback off the podcast before we did the zip code breakdown on don't waste a recession, and this one is titled, build your real estate investment team here in Memphis. How do you build your team around you? This is one of the things that when you and I were preparing for this one was how can we piggyback on not wasting this recession? So it's not only about finding a deal and staying active and not wasting it, but building your team, right? Yeah. And so we've piggybacked kind of off that. Don't waste the recession. What we're talking about is while you have a little bit slower time or a little bit more of a downtime, let's make sure that some of your other areas of your team are there. If they're not there, we're going to show you what to add and how to add it. When I say build your team, what's kind of the first couple of things that pop into your mind? Yeah,
I mean, I think just backing on that, just kind of don't waste the recession. It's kind of like, just don't miss this opportunity. Yeah. Like this is an opportunity to double down, to focus. I think focus was a big word we talked about last time. Yeah. It just kind of gives you that clarity of mind. So when you talk about building your real estate team and working with those professionals, I mean, to me, and part of where this came from was, man, you want people who've experienced markets like this before. So staying at a high level, you want experience. You want people there are gonna be people through this cycle who leaves the business. Yeah. You don't want to be with those people, whether they're agents, property managers, contractors, closing attorneys, insurance agents. You want people who've seen it, been there, done that, have the experience. Not only I guess my two things would be, my main thing would probably be experience and a kind of a personal connection. But with that experience, not only the transactional side, but also in professional, but also personal experience, right? Yeah. Like they are investors themselves. Those are the best ones, whether the insurance guy, we know, owns houses. Yes. We've got insurance guy we work with, owns houses. Yes. Property management company, owns houses. I love it. Brokers, owns houses. Yeah. Closing attorney, owns houses. Yeah. Everybody who I'm personally working with owns rental houses. Yes. So, I believe everybody on my list is, but that's a key factor to this. And what I tell investors all the time, if you don't work with me, pick another agent that owns some rental houses. Like, if you choose not to, God forbid you don't. But no, if you don't, go with somebody who has rental properties. You're only going to be able to have that investor conversation. That's kind of one of my things is, hey, let's start talking about it. Well, Property Source is one of them. I am a Property Source. I'm an agent too, a little bit more over the Property Source. So go with someone that has rentals. I have several. So
the conversation, and I tell investors this, if we want to just kind of pause and talk about this for a second. When I first started selling this product with Crestcore in 2011 or early 2012, I didn't own any. I began to learn the product and saw what it was and saw to see it and of course, or saw what it would produce and just different things. I knew it, and I knew the areas, right, from doing the BPOs, and I knew everything about it. Educated myself quick, went through some transactions early, thought, hey, I got a hold of this. I never realized until I bought my first one in 2015 that the conversations dramatically change between myself and a buyer and a client. They just change. It's a knowledge, it's an experience. It's not, hey, I've seen other people do this. It's I've done this. Yeah. It's I've made these mistakes, or I've had these successes, and it changed the dialogue between me and the client. And we were selling houses earlier, but I do feel like when I started to buy and then accumulated more than just a few, I began to see so many different things and mistakes I was making, and it's just been the translation of that to my clients. I feel like that's what's helped from the brokerage standpoint. I tell you all this not to put us over. I tell you this because if you're going to look for that relationship with somebody else, make sure you have that connection. Hey, you've been through this. Not only have I been, buying some, but I was in the real estate in 2008 and 9. And we were through COVID. And not every one of those things are the same, but what they are slowdowns in the market and shift changes. And I think that's important that, you have that person to go through.
Because that's what we're going through right now. We haven't seen this exact scenario before.
Yep.
But we've seen this exact scenario before.
So you start with the basics, right? So I mean, what are some of the basics? Like if you're an investor coming into Memphis, what's some of the first things you would think you need to have as far as building your team from a basic infant level?
Yeah, I mean, again, I kind of look at frameworks, and so it's for me on the real estate investing side, it's deals, financing, and management.
Okay.
And so deals is like the transaction. How do I analyze it? How do I find the deal? How do I analyze it? How do I close it? All of that related
goes with the deal.
So you mentioned sourcing. You mentioned an agent to help close it, negotiate it.
Yep.
Your closing attorney, insurance, accountant. That to me is all part of you're going to have that type of team for your deal.
Especially when you're out of state. Because it's not like you can show up at the title in the closing company and sign.
Yep.
There's a whole process that goes with it.
Yep. So we can talk about all those. Then financing is your hard money lenders, your bankers, whoever's helping you fund and purchase that property.
Okay.
And then on management, that to me is everything. If you're long-term buy and hold, then it's a property manager. It's a rehab contractor. It's a maintenance contractor. It's if you're flipping, there's also a part of that, which is your contractor who's going to help you on that. So again, those are the three buckets I look at, and how do I build out my team in all three of those buckets.
Let's start with the first bucket.
Yeah.
You've got to, in order to get a property, you got to find a property. And in order to find one, you got to help. You can maybe source some yourself, but you need some help here on the ground.
Yeah.
An agent, a wholesaler.
Yep.
I am going to caution you I love my wholesalers, right? I love them. We have a great relationship with a ton of them. But I will tell you to be very careful when you proceed with a wholesaler that you don't know, or that we haven't vetted or anything like that, because they don't have a governing body. No. They can do business however they choose to. Some do a great job. Like I've got some guys that are, they run a tight ship.
Yes.
They do a really good job with their business, and it's consistent.
Yep.
And I do have some others that don't. So without going into what all that means, they just don't. And it's difficult, and it's harder to kind of sift through there. And if you're actually getting a good deal at what they say it is or what it shows out to be. So property source and finding one is, to me, the start. Find someone you trust. Help you identify a product. That's another thing that people don't understand is like, hey, I'm just going to go invest in Memphis. Great. Congratulations. Well, what are we going to buy?
And I was going to say part of that, and I guess I didn't even talk about that, which you're saying right there, is somebody, almost a guide to help you initially set your vision, set some goals, implement a plan, build a plan, and implement a plan. So
I use tour guide all the time when I talk to new clients.
There you go.
And I'm not trying to devalue what I do. Like I'm just going to sit here and hold your hand. But this is a teaching thing as well. I mean, when you're down the road and it's 10 years from now and you're buying property, do you want to be calling me for every single thing?
No, I mean, I
Probably
feel like,
not.
we're in a service industry, right? Why are we in a service industry? Because we feel called to help people and places thrive. Like,
Yes.
That's why we do a podcast. That's why these companies are here. It's like to help ourselves,
Yes.
to help our city, and to help other people come alongside. And so that is
I love that, because that's a tour guide. I don't sell anything on here. We don't, for those that are listening to this, we don't sell anything. We don't monetize this at all. This is strictly for information for our clients and others, if whoever's listening to it, and from experience.
Yeah.
And we talk about mistakes and we talk about successes.
And we'd be lying if we didn't say we get something out of it. The conversation and thinking and like, even just saying it sometimes out loud goes, oh yeah, I need to go back. I mean, I sold one last week.
Every time you guys see me, the majority of the time, 90% of the time, if you see me write on here, it's because I'm taking notes from something that we talked about that I'm going to use later.
Correct.
And I get it a lot of the times. And it's this dialogue of what you said that helps. So anyway, we're drifting, but back to property source. Finding what you want to buy. Let's look at that. So now we've identified there. Now you're what else did you say went in that bucket?
Like an
source,
agent. I mean, source it, negotiate it. I mean, there's a lot with the transaction team going towards a close, and so you got to have
title companies, closings. We got Will Griffin, so we'll mention a few.
Oh, yeah,
Griffin,
good call.
Clift, Everton, and Maschmeyer. They are a sponsor of the show.
Yes.
They close anything. They'll have any kind of real estate related things they can help you with if you have issues or whatever. Will Griffin is kind of our attorney to go to over there. Massive help. Been a great partner of the podcast for a long time.
He owns rental houses. Family owns a bank. He's been on the board of a bank, a local community bank, for 20 plus years. He's been on loan committee for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
He's been a real estate investor for dozens of years.
Yeah.
And has multiple properties.
He'll know exactly what to do with whatever problem or good thing that you have.
Has seen it. Does commercial stuff. Does residential stuff. Does owner occupant. So he is a real estate expert in Memphis.
Yes, and will be a great partner too.
Not to mention, his dad was a guru. I mean, like his dad blazed the trail in all of that law and banking and real estate. So he comes from generations of that. So that's exciting.
Great partner there. Yes. Local Title closes some of our deals.
Yeah, they do a fantastic job as well.
They do a fantastic job. So insurance, we've got, all of this. Part of this is building your team. We can talk about the insurance on the back end, but. So we've got closing. We've sourced the property. We found it, and now we've closed it with our partners. So now what's next?
I'm talking about when part of that closing for me is financing.
Okay.
Whether you're using a hard money lender or whether you're using some type of permanent financing. Hard money is usually temporary.
Yeah.
Short term is some bridging.
Great tool.
It's a tool, right? And it helps you get there. So we work with Corelend, and they do a great job at helping people secure the property, whether it's transactional or some type of bridge, and then more long-term into more community banks as well as some national lenders.
That's right. So Corelend is a sister company of Crestcore. It's a hard money lender.
Yes.
It's in-house. A lot of our clients use this. It is a great tool. We won't dive into there, but it's a great tool for transactions and to acquire properties. I've used it, 20 times, maybe more. Yeah. So it's been a great tool. The hard money is there. We've got other banking partners here, local guys, mortgage companies.
Yep.
So there's a different assortment of people that can help you with the financing end. And we've got all those people. I use them all. I've got everybody that I refer out, I use them all.
Right. And that's one of the things when we're talking about helping people kind of thrive and helping people in places thrive, and this is kind of what we're set to do. Like part of the service we offer is like I like saying, we've talked about this, is like we're here to serve people profitably.
Yes.
Like, and to me, service means we're not gonna offer any services that we don't use ourselves.
None.
Like I sold a house through the brokerage 4 days ago.
Yes.
You listed it. You got it under contract. You brought the buyer.
Yeah.
I mean, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So I use the services. Property management, we use the services. Corelend, we use the services. So yes, these are the services that we are going to use ourselves.
It is a huge message when I talk to investors on the phone and I tell them, don't worry, I've got all the people I can refer to you and I use them all myself. It's an extremely powerful message to them. They hear that and it's like, wait a minute. Now, you're not obligated. I tell everybody this. This is not one of those things where it's like, hey, you come in and you've got to use everybody. It doesn't matter to me if you don't use anyone. I like to offer a base foundation for you to go and start calling people. If you find something cheaper or whatever, congratulations, like go ahead. But it's easy for me to manage. So when I'm working with a client and it's like, hey, I go with Dean's folks, it is easier for me to manage, because if anybody tells you that nothing is going to go wrong, they're flat out lying to you. Yeah. So at some point, something's going to go wrong. It does make it a little easier for me to manage, and I can go after whoever or whatever the issue is and find it out. But it's no problem if you don't. So that's kind of the conversation that I have with that investor of, hey, we have everything here. You don't have to use it, but I use everyone. So, and I wasn't, I think I knew that you used everybody, but it's still powerful to hear that not only myself, but our owner and our biggest client we mentioned at the beginning of the show, and our principal broker that is using everything that we refer out as well.
Always, and you said it's eat the cooking. It's like, I've always thought to use this not for special privilege, but to be an example and to help the companies improve, right? Like we're out there constantly helping each other get better so that we can in turn provide a better service. So it's like it's a virtuous cycle where everybody's getting better.
And when it's going, it's awesome. And it's not that it isn't. It's just it's life, and sometimes it goes better than others. But man, when it is going, it is really sweet, because there's the interaction between the different companies when everything goes in a row. It's awesome. So one thing I want to advise too with this is we're talking about building this. This isn't any kind of we're not splitting the atom here, right? Like this is fairly easy to talk about, and it should be self-explanatory. But I get on the phone with clients all the time that haven't done this. They're making offers, and they're like, who would you recommend for management? I'm like, my guy, like, we got to find that out now. Like, you don't need to start making offers. If you haven't at least pinpointed, I don't think you need to go sign management agreements, or I don't think you need to go leave your earnest money at a title company now or before you offer. But as you're offering, you need to know. One of my last notes here was don't piece this together.
Agree.
And that's what I mean by that is like, don't come in and say, hey, I found Dean. I'm not going to make any other calls around Memphis or do anything until, we start offering and I get one under contract. It's way too late then. We can do it, but you're going to be totally relying on what I'm telling you.
Right.
And if that doesn't make you 100% comfortable, then we need to do this up front.
Yeah.
So piecing it together would be to start interviewing.
Yes.
Talk to some property managers. Start here. It's easy for me to manage. Title companies, if you want to reach out to Will's office or to local, you can figure out kind of what they need and want and what they expect, because a lot of ours are out of state, right? So we have mail away closings. People don't understand that you can do that. Like we'll have a mobile notary at your house in California in 2 days. So it's really no problem at all. That's kind of what I mean by piecing it together. Don't do this on the fly. Have a general idea of who all you're going to use for what, at least on that first deal.
Yeah.
Before you can get settled down. The common mistake I do see is they come in, they get a house that's offered, okay, management, now what? Oh man, you're scrambling to make decisions.
Yes.
So piecing it together, to me, I would try to avoid that if you can.
Agree. Yeah, totally agree. And so for me, it's, as you mentioned, deals, financing, and then management. And so for the management, it's the property manager.
Yeah.
Crestcore Property Management, again, a sister company. They're managing a bunch of houses, have been in business for a long time. In fact, officially, 10-year, 2012 to 2022.
Really?
At the 10-year.
That's right.
We were doing stuff at another firm before it kind of officially birthed and owned rental houses before that. But it's been 10 years. So in 2022, it's a 10-year for Crestcore. And managing property and helping people buy on the brokerage side. But so Crestcore on the property management side, and as a start. And then who you're using for contractors, who you're using for rehabs, who you're using for maintenance. Again, your property manager, whether it's Crestcore or another, they'll
have somebody.
People that they work with. You've got people that are outside as well, so that you can constantly, nobody has to fit, it's not one size fits all. We understand that. Everybody.
I feel like we lose when we put an investor in that situation. I feel like that's why I don't say, hey, I really want you to use this company. I'd prefer you to, because it's easier on me, selfishly.
Yeah.
But it meaning I can help you manage whatever problem you've got easier. But I would encourage you to know what's out there. I tell investors when they talk to me on the phone, I'm like, who else are you interviewing? Who else are you talking to? 80% of them will say somebody else, but 20% of them won't. And I'll encourage them. Hey man, go talk to somebody else.
Yeah.
And so, and honestly, a lot of people say, why would you do that? It's like, we're selling a lot of houses here every month. No matter what, really, we sell a lot of houses. It gives me the leverage when we do that to not help an investor make any decisions based off of me. Right. It's what's best for the client.
That's
period.
I mean, and hey, you mentioned that about the wholesalers. That's as a real estate. There's wholesalers and there's non-real estate agents.
Yeah.
There's real estate agents, and then there's realtors in that order of level.
Yes.
So non-real estate agents can run wild. Real estate agents licensed by the state of Tennessee are under the authority of the state.
Yes.
Realtors are under the authority of the National Association of Realtors and have a code of ethics they abide by. So,
yes.
So
that's two different things a lot of people don't understand. Because you got a real estate license doesn't mean a whole lot.
No, it means you're licensed by the state. Being a realtor means you have a code of ethics and you got to abide by. And so with that, your duty is to the client. It is not to yourself. It's not to these sister companies.
Yeah.
A lot of these companies are independent companies, and their main focus is to help their client, not to help their affiliated company.
That's right.
And we get that
all the time.
Mentally, we get that,
yeah.
and we can separate that, and we understand that. Because A, we do it for ourselves. B, it's the law. C, we've been doing this for 25 years.
If you're listening now, you've heard, and you've been listening, and you've been on the phone with me, you've heard me say, I'd love for you to use those guys, but you do not have to. You've heard me say that 100 times, and it's, we want you to. It is easier. And by the way, everyone on this list does a great job. I wouldn't have them on the list if they didn't. Or you know what I'm saying? Like they wouldn't be there anyway.
Yes.
Crestcore Property Management does a great job.
Yep.
City Light that assists them, fantastic. Corelend is one of the best tools that helped me get kickstarted.
Yep.
The brokerage, I feel like we help and do a great job with our clients.
Helping people buy and list.
Yeah, all the time. So I do feel like it's more of a responsibility to that client and to that buyer to make sure that they at least have all the tools in front of them. I can't force you to use what I think are the best ones, but I'm offering those up.
Yes.
It's what you and I both use, and I think that goes a lot further. Yeah. Great topic. Market update was one of the things I was going to hit before we go because it's so volatile right now, and we're so up and down. We still stayed steady right at 20 closings the last couple of months. Mm-hmm. That's a little low, but go ahead.
I was just going to say, over the we're sitting in September 2022.
Yeah.
And I would say over the last 3 months, it's been more shifty than the past 18 months were.
Yeah.
And let's talk about 2022. The first 6 months versus the last 3 months, you've purchased more.
I have purchased more in the last 3 months than I have in the last 12.
Yes.
And by the way, that's all we've been telling you guys.
Correct.
Is that the way, none of those deals were killer.
There are opportunities, though, right?
There are opportunities to buy that fit into my program.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you had more opportunities, right? Because 6 months ago, 9 months ago, it was so competitive. You couldn't get you could submit an offer, but
it was 8 other people in there, and who knows if I was going to get it.
It was rejected before you hit send.
Big time.
Because somebody else, they'd already accepted one.
So what we're seeing right now, it's holding true to what I thought was coming was I'm not getting better deals, and neither are the clients. We're just having more opportunities to get a deal, to get a house, right? So instead of there being 8 people in a desirable home, there might be 2.
Right.
Or it might just be you. And
I'm starting to see better deals than there were. And maybe there's some trade-offs with interest rates a little bit higher. But sellers aren't, we talked about this 6 months ago. Sellers are losing control. They don't have as much control.
They're in the middle of the loss.
Right.
They're losing it now.
Yes. So they used to command multiple offers, cash, no contingencies. And so now you're able to do some of those things. You can have some contingencies. You can have
listings.
You can negotiate. You can negotiate. You couldn't negotiate previously.
Not really.
Right?
Now you can.
Now you can. So that, to me, that's a little bit of more of a deal, more of an opportunity than it was before. So now, for a buyer,
I am seeing the offers. If the house is listed at 180 and you come in at 130, that's getting rejected.
Oh,
we're not anywhere near.
Nobody's giving stuff away yet.
No one's giving anything away, and there's a backlog of demand that's still there from investors and from homeowners. The I will tell you this. A friend of mine that's in the residential market, we were talking last week, we're over 1,000 houses available in Shelby County on the MLS for the first time in like 9 months. So what's that tell you?
Yeah.
Things are staying on longer. Not as many buyers in here are buying.
Yep. Good.
Hear that, investors.
Good.
Hear that as opportunity.
Opportunity.
To get a house that maybe you couldn't. So if you're selling, you need to sell now.
Well, and that's exactly what I was about to say. As a seller, I sold something last week, and I got one more on the market.
Yeah.
2 more on the market. Got 2 more on the market right now. I know as a seller, I'm anxious to get those sold. I don't know what the future holds.
Yeah.
And so I'm a little more anxious to sell. I'm a little more willing to deal. Definitely than I was 6 months ago.
I believe that needs to be the mentality of other sellers. They need to hear that.
They're getting there.
We saw 3 packages in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
If you've been listening to this podcast, you've heard me say the first people that are going. I know the first group of people that are going to suffer from this are the guys that own 4.
Yeah.
One's vacant and needs 30 grand. I said this 100 times. Needs 20 or 30 grand. Doesn't have it. Let's save some money from these other 3. Water heater goes out on this one, and maybe they quit paying.
Rent.
Now you got 2 mortgages that are barely covering the note of all 4. If anything goes wrong with these other 2, you're red. You're losing money. This guy's coming to me now saying, "Can you sell them? Can you sell them for what I bought them for?" We're right at the end of that, guys. It's coming to where I can't get you that anymore.
Right.
It's not all the way down to what I owe. But you are starting to cut into that money that you made in appreciation over the last few years. It's beginning to dwindle down. So if you're gonna sell, this is kind of what I've been saying. This, if you're thinking, or you've been thinking this year. I used to say 2 years, right?
Yep.
No. If you're gonna be thinking for the next few months, do it. The rates are coming up again.
Yes.
It's gonna buckle people down again from buying.
Yes.
Their buying power is going to go down. We have a colleague here that is flipping a house, and we went through this, and it's a bad example, but it's a good example to tell people to avoid. The property listed at 165 originally in an area that 6 months ago it has sold in 10 minutes. Fabulous job on the rehab. Did a wonderful job. It looks great. It has sold in 10 minutes. Well, now because the rate's gone up 1.5 points since then, or maybe 2 or whatever it is. The buyer that used to be able to afford 160 can only afford 115 now. And here's the worst part. The buyer that can't afford the 160, they were looking at 200 and 210, so they are dramatically disappointed in what they see at 160, even though it's a good house and a good job. They're struggling. Yeah. Don't get caught in that situation. We're going to help him out of it. We're getting out. We had somebody that's maybe off. So we're working on this now to help him out. Don't get too far down that hole though, because if you wait much longer, the rates are going to rise again. It's going to be even harder for that buyer. So hear me now and believe me later, or however you want to do it. But I do believe if you're in that selling market where you need to move something, you think you might need to move something, I would do that as fast as you can. Piggying back on there, little self-promotion, dean@crestcore.com. I'll get you a free analyzation and comparative market analysis on what we can sell it for. So I'll help you get those numbers to you. But that's what's happening right now. Market update. We did that almost as long as we did the.
That was good, but I think and people don't know. But here's the thread that ties some of that together. Is in your example, the person, the colleague you referred to, is a property management, works with Crestcore Property Management, right? Yeah. So that person, going back to this, is like, you want to work with people who are in the trenches with you. He's flipping a house. He's owning. He's in this market, right? Yep. So he gets it. Yeah. Not people who are just making money off of everybody.
Off of everybody.
Like these are people who are like in there doing it, learning.
Yes. Working. And I really want to move this for him. As much as everybody, but God, he's here. So it's like this story and this scenario is powerful. Like you should hear this if you're an investor right now and you're thinking about selling. Don't get caught in this scenario. We're going to get him out of it. He's going to be fine. He's not losing money, but he's not going to make the money he thought he was.
Sure.
Right. And what we're trying to do is help everybody avoid getting into that situation because it's right in front of us.
Yeah. And just again, to circle it all back, like if I would say anything, work with folks as you're building your team.
Yeah.
As there's an opportunity to build your team right now.
Yeah.
As you build your team, work with people who are experienced
and in the business.
Experienced in the business themselves.
That's right. That's
for
right.
sure.
Great show today.
Awesome.
Great to build your team and understand that. I'm glad we were able to give you a little market update too. So a great topic today. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you have any questions, dean@crestcore.com. I can help you buy, sell anything. Anything else you got?
Man, great.
It's great. All right. See you guys next time.